Welcome to Fluorescene.
I am here today with Frederic Jouhet, founder and CEO of MacuHealth. It's a leader in nutritional supplements in the eye care industry. Frederic was born and raised in France and served as an officer in the French Navy. In other words, he knows his way around a boat. Which side is tribord and which is babo, right?
Yeah.
You better know that. He also taught at several law schools, including the University of Detroit, Mercy School of Law, and the University of Michigan. He holds a master's in banking and business law from the University de Auvergne. How do you say that, Fred?
Auvergne.
École Detroit et des Sciences Politiques, France, and a master's in laws from the University of Michigan Law School. He spent 15 years working as a financial advisor on Wall Street, has founded several successful companies as well. He founded MacuHealth in 2006 with the purpose of providing a unique, effective dietary solution to AMD and visual performance by combining the correct levels of carotenoids found in macular pigments. Frederic, all you need is a Dos Equis, and you might be the eye care equivalent of the most interesting man in the world. I don't know, but I'm going to spare you further embarrassment and just want to welcome you here. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Alan. It's a good thing I shaved. I would be completely the guy now.
And I didn't, so good thing you look better than me. So I guess I want to start by asking you a few questions. And in your own words, though, can you tell us about your background and how that illustrious history impacts what you do in the eye care space?
I don't know about illustrious, but so as you said, born and raised in France, went to law school there. We don't have college, so people always look at age and numbers, and they're looking at me and say, how in the world are you able to do that in that short amount of time? So we don't have college, you go straight to university. So graduated law school. At the time, there was a mandatory military service for a year. And because my grandfather was pretty high up at one point in the Navy and in the resistance during World War II, I ended up spending 4 as an officer in Commando Hubert, which is a special force group. And then at the age of 25, I moved to the United States. I had been asked to come as a scholar to teach European law and transactions at University of Detroit Mercy School of Law. And what was supposed to be 6 months is now going on 31 years. I think my alma mater has given up on me coming back at any time now by this point. All those experiences, though, law is phenomenal. I remember the first words I heard in a law setting was, law will lead you anywhere you want to go, as long as you get the heck out of it. And it's very true, because it gives you a very interesting way of analysis, a very interesting way of looking at things. I always say business to me is a little bit like playing chess. You need to be able to see what the next 3-4 moves are and steer the ship in the right direction. And having a team, a great team like I have, we have over 35 people on the team now. What Navy definitely taught me is to hire great people and let them do their thing. Don't stand in their way. So be able to delegate, not micromanage people. I hate to be micromanaged, and I hate micromanaging people. I think the best line, I think it was Steve Jobs who said that, why in the world would you hire talented people and tell them what to do? Let them tell you what to do, because that's why you hire them. So that's really how it brought, all those things brought me to where I'm at today. The invention was brought to me looking for money, for raising money. And I just became the sole investor, and it turned into what MacuHealth is today.
Well, that's a great story. I agree with that. Not micromanaging, but also making sure, for me, I found that that's important. And those people also have to be able to communicate with you.
Yes.
If they can't, then they're not getting, they may not be getting anything done. But yeah, totally. Now, I noticed in reading a lot about MacuHealth and going through the website and talking to you, I've noticed that you have a really, really big emphasis on quality. Can you talk about your journey in the supplement space and how you came to focus on quality as a core value? For instance, there's a quote from you I saw that 75% of the products out there don't have in the box what they claim on it. And that just, it's mind numbing.
Yeah, so I learned that very early in the process. MacuHealth only sponsored one study in its history, and that study was, we have lutein, zeaxanthin, and Meso-Zeaxanthin. Do those three components together work better or as well than the product we had at the time, which were mostly lutein and zeaxanthin? Nobody wanted to do the study. We found somebody that reluctantly did it, and the conclusions were both positive and, for a startup, very damning, because the study said, yeah, the three carotenoids together work amazing. We need to do more studies. There's more things coming. We used a product that has 7 milligram of lutein, 1 milligram of zeaxanthin, 7 milligram of Meso-Zeaxanthin. And I called the investigator. I said, well, what product did you use? I thought you were using mine. And he said, yeah, I used yours. I said, well, mine is 10-10 too. He goes, not anymore. And what we figured out is, the first product we had was a powder-based product, one of those detachable capsules that you see. Those are antioxidant carotenoids. If it's detachable, air goes in it. If oxygen goes in an antioxidant, it disappears. So the 75% statistic you just quoted came about 2 years ago. The 60 Minutes equivalent in Canada is called CT News out of Toronto. And the lead investigator for medical issues I think she bought 48 products in our space, in the vision space, vision supplement, and had them analyzed by one of the top labs in the world. And if you take MacuHealth's product out of the list, 75% of these products did not have inside the box what they claim to have on their label. And, I'm not a big regulation guy, but there is zero regulation. The supplement business is the Wild West. So you have groups like ours who make tremendous amount of efforts and at a very high cost to get the right vector, the right raw material, the right encapsulation. We also have a group called Supplement Certified that everybody can use, that tests our product once it's made for claim verification, and then test it every 3 months for the duration of the shelf life to make sure it remains stable. And we never had that problem. But if one of those tests was to come short, we would have to destroy the batch. Most of the industry doesn't do any of this. We go from people like us and Bausch and Lomb to groups that are making product in our garage. And sadly, there is no regulation. So that's why we brought up this quality standards to make sure that at least the top groups in our industry are following suit.
Wow. And then on top of that, absorption, we don't really understand how well they're absorbed. So I think that would move that 75% number up to higher in terms of the usefulness anyone gets out of any, almost every supplement that advertises itself as effective.
Yeah, the one analogy, which is a little extreme, but I love to bring it up, is if we were not in the eye and vision space and we were in chemotherapy for breast cancer, that means 75% of people are basically selling saline or a defective product. That would be first-degree murder if you know that you have a defective product. So somehow vision doesn't get the same attention. But to me, the bigger problem that I see, and the reason why I am absolutely there's no negotiation as to quality and stability, is that at the end of the day, the patients suffer. And if the patients suffer, it places the doctors at risk. And we are doctor-centric. We don't sell in big boxes or pharmacies. So we need to protect both patients and doctors. And I think everybody should have the same philosophy.
So let's take that, and that's really interesting. And let's turn it into a practical example on how can focusing on quality of supplements in your practice impact, your average optometric practice.
So we had our marketing group came up with a very cool video that we're going to play a lot more going forward. If you take an average independent optometry practice, it's about 2,000 active patients. NIH data shows about 4.6% of those 2,000 have macular degeneration. Another 15% are at risk of macular degeneration, which is normal. We are an aging population. So right now you're looking at 300 people almost. What was really concerning to me is that we started all this backwards. When supplementation came in with carotenoids, it was really how can we control, stop, slow down macular degeneration. And about 8 years ago, a top scientist came up and said, well, why would we have a macular pigment? And the only reason why that pigment is there is to prevent macular degeneration when it's a condition we didn't even know existed 40 years ago because we didn't live long enough. So he started to look at young populations. Well, I can't tell you his name, but the worst macular pigment density we have ever measured as a company was one of the top pick in the NFL a few years back. So you talk about a 21-year-old kid who's telling you as a doctor, I don't like to drive at night. And to me, I'm looking at him and say, you shouldn't be saying that for another 40 years.
Yeah.
But bad nutrition, poor nutrients in the nutrition we eat. We have an abundance of nutrition, but we have very little nutrients inside what we eat. Means that you have 20-year-old, 25-year-old, 19-year-old who have almost no macular pigment because they eat pizza and chicken nuggets. And the key to me is to make sure that you have proper quality throughout in order to make sure that the patients are getting great supplementation. So 70% of those 2,000 people have some kind of a visual function problem.
That's really interesting.
Glare, night vision, blurriness at a distance, although they have corrective lenses or they have 2010, 2015, or 2020. And most of them don't even tell you, and they are actually complaining silently, most of them saying, well, I just got my eyes checked. I got the acuity chart, but the acuity chart is 5% of what you do every day. You don't read people, you look at people, and they're not 100% contrast. It's not black on white. So that's your macular pigment. So as far as a practice, if you look at the numbers, call it 5% with AMD, 15% at risk, and 70% with issues. And that's a very simple fix. It's just a proper supplementation to improve the macular pigment density. And that makes for happy patients. And as you told me once, happy patient, happy practice.
Yeah. You know, I know it's really interesting. This is going to change my practice. I get a lot of complaints from younger people about mostly glare. And when I can't find a root cause, you know, night vision problems too, I'm going to think more about that. That's something I've definitely been lax at or have not really.
Well, and not your fault really, because there is no way to properly measure macular pigment objectively. I mean, there are ways to do it. Contrast sensitivity testing is a very big one. But there is not really a machine or a device that would be practice friendly that will allow you to measure the macular pigment density.
Right.
You know, the flicker photometry is very subjective and it takes a lot longer than people think. There are devices that are available and very accurate if you are doing a study and you have 20 minutes with each patient, but as a practitioner, you don't have 20 minutes. So that's kind of why people don't ask those questions, but doctors, optometrists should ask those questions. Do you have problems seeing at distance? Is it blurry? Is light bothering you? Do you have fatigue because your job is to be in front of a computer for 10 hours? You know, this is a question that I hadn't prepared, but it make me think of I know there's devices out there that measure they claim to measure the carotenoids in your blood. How accurate are those? There are a couple out there that are tactile. So you put your hand on the screen. Those are actually correlating pretty well with serum levels and target tissue levels. So they could be a very interesting device to utilize as a pre-screening at least. And if you have a low macular pigment or if you have a low reading, then as a doctor, you can ask that patient, okay, do you have problems, and list the problems. I guarantee you they will have one.
Interesting. That's good to know. I know that those companies also sell their own vitamins, but I've after thinking about what they were doing, well, if they're low, you can just eat better and watch them go up. You don't have to use that company's vitamins, but a vitamin that goes to the macula, that's probably a better way to go. Use that device and identify it, and then use a MacuHealth.
The statistic that always blows my mind when I see it in one of our presentation is one bowl of spinach in 1953, and that's from the United States Department of Agriculture. One bowl of spinach in 1953, in order to get the same amount of nutrients that bowl provided in 53 in 2000, you need to eat 43 bowls of spinach. So I don't know what it is in 2022, but I guarantee you it didn't get better. And the reason for that is these plants don't create those carotenoids thinking, oh, Alan and Frederic need those carotenoids, I need to get going. They don't know we're here. They are using those carotenoids as a self-growing and self-defense mechanism. But the easier we make it for plants to grow, I mean, we're growing lettuce in water beds now. There's no need to create those carotenoids to survive because it's easy life to grow as a plant. So we have an abundance of food, but there's a devolution of the nutrients inside the food. So we're being fed, but we're not being nourished.
Fantastic. I want to add, for the benefit of the audience, that all the claims that MacuHealth makes are based on what's called level 1 scientific evidence, and that means that they're made after producing the highest quality prospective cohort study with systematic review of these studies that happens in science. So these aren't just claims made on basic science. They're not just literature reviews. These are level 1 studies, and that means something out there. Actually, I thought going through this that a good basis for comparison when you're comparing which supplements you're going to offer in your practice, it has to be an apples to apples comparison. You can't compare something that doesn't have a level 1 data behind it. So now the new ARIDS formulation, the ARIDS 2 formulation, has 2 major improvements beyond this. Can you tell our viewers about that?
So my biggest problem with ARIDS is 80 milligram of zinc. If you look at NIH guidance, you and I should get 8 milligram, and a lady should get 9 milligram. We're already getting zinc in the food that we eat. If you take a multivitamin like a Centrum or something similar, you're getting another 15 plus 80. Now you are over 100 milligram per day, and you have literature, high-level medical literature, showing that there is a correlation with between high zinc and things like Alzheimer, cancer, and things like this. So I always had a large problem with the levels of zinc in the ARIDS 2 formulation. So we did 25 milligram instead of 80. The second improvement is no fault of NIH and EI and ARIDS 2 at the time where ARIDS 2 was created. So they created the protocol in 2006. Meso-Zeaxanthin was not commercially available. We had it, but we didn't even know if it worked at the time. We were just getting started. So they don't have Meso-Zeaxanthin in there. And by the time 2013 came out and Dr. Chu brought the finding of ARIDS 2 at Arvo in Seattle, the Meso-Zeaxanthin was now in our product, but not in ARIDS 2. So our ARIDS 2-like formula, if you want to call it that way, has lesser zinc, lesser copper, and Meso-Zeaxanthin.
Okay, well, that's great. There's a new process also that you've implemented, and I'll let you talk about it because I can't do it justice, but it sounds kind of unique. After you tell us about it, are there any products out there any competing products that can lay claim to something similar?
No, it's a patented and proprietary product that our labs created. There are different types or different ways, different formats for carotenoids. So if you look at if you look at what we call esterified carotenoid, it means that the fatty ending of the molecules are still there. I compare that to trying to eat corn with the husk on it. You know, is it good? No, but still corn. The large majority of products are former raw material. Most of our competitors use a free-form carotenoid, which has great bioavailability, but all three carotenoids are in a crystal-like product or crystal-like format. And then the cells in your body have to dig into that crystal to get it to the bloodstream and then to the target tissue. So it would be like now having corn without the husk. So it's edible. What we have done is through a very simple natural process, we have created what we call micromicelle technology. And what it has done, it has taken the corn of the husk, if you want. It's basically all those little corns are by themselves, which makes the bioavailability about 1,000% higher, and has proven to get results in a faster way, because now we get in the bloodstream faster, we saturate tissue faster, and we get to the target tissue faster.
It's neat. You bring up corn. Thanks for that explanation. That made a lot of sense. And you bring up corn, which is a great segue into my next and last question, which is one of the attributes that I found interesting, and I hadn't really seen this with many of the other nutritional supplements in our industry, is that you claim to be the best choice of for people with dietary restrictions, with allergies, GMO issues, artificial ingredients, maybe even gluten issues. I think you refer to it as an optimal safety profile. I imagine it was difficult to formulate something with everything that you wanted in terms of that would impact the macula, and then also all that thing. There must have been a ton of difficult chemistry problems that you solved.
Yeah, the good news is, as a joke, I was part of the half of the class that made the top half possible. So I had people figuring out that part for me. For me, it was not difficult. It was expensive.
Right.
because
Same thing.
It was trial and error. So yeah, non-GMO, no, I don't want any GMO. So non-GMO is important. The product is gluten-free. The only thing that we have not been able to do yet, and it's because technology is not there, the envelope is still a bovine envelope, bovine gelatin envelope, because the veggies-based gelatin is not strong enough to create a very good product that looks great. But they're making progress every day. And really what we do here, from me to anyone in our group, is if we find some way to do something better for the patients, better for the practice, better for as far as the product is concerned, we're going to put resources behind it to try to figure out if we can make it better. So the motto here is we're never really satisfied with where we're at. We're trying to be better tomorrow than we were today. That's basically what the motto of the company is. You know, don't sleep on your laurels. It's great. We have a great product. How can we make it better? And it's never about making it better than other people. I don't care what other people are doing. I know we have the best product in the market. It's becoming better than what we were yesterday. That's what we do.
And educating, like we're doing here, doctors on how to make the decision on what is best for your patients, which
there's a lot of noise. You said something very interesting and very important at one point when you talk about level 1 studies. Most optometrists have never been showed the difference between being in a top double-blind placebo control that is funded by the European Union or NIH or NEI, and an opinion piece that is published in one of our periodicals. There's a massive difference between the two. This is not the same quality.
Great to hear. Well, listen, is there anything else you want to add before we say our goodbyes and sign off?
No, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for having me.
I've been looking forward to doing this for a long time. I wish I did it earlier, but I learned a lot, and I think our viewers will also. How can our viewers get in touch with you and get more information from your salespeople or on your products?
So info at MacuHealth.com is always a good place to start an inquiry. If you go on our website, MacuHealth.com, you will see all all members of our team, the sales team, as their regions highlighted. You can contact them directly, and we are very responsive. Everybody will get an answer as soon as they get their inquiry in.
And I see you at almost all the trade shows.
Yeah.
Share a whiskey and say hi to Frederic and the team in the MacuHealth booth as well at the Academy, right?
We won't be at the Academy as with a booth. I will be there just visiting, but we will be at a few more shows this year in Vision East, where I hear that for the first time we'll actually be on the top floor. There's no more basement.
Oh,
Yeah.
Totally gone. Interesting.
Yeah, we made it up to the top floor with the big guys. So
that'll be different. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. And we look forward to a follow-up, maybe 6-9 months down the road, as you have new information coming out, keeping us up to date.
Very good. Thanks, Alan.
All right. Excellent.
Bye-bye.